Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating, from the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day. Each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. Thank you all for tuning into the show today. Yet another excellent show scheduled. In the first hour, we're going to be speaking with our good friend, Sam Osmanagich. And in the second hour, we're going to be speaking with C.K. Quarterman. First hour, we're going to be talking about an update from the Bosnian Pyramids. And the second hour, giant UFOs and the New World Order. That should be interesting. But as a reminder, Just Energy Radio is brought to you by SoulHealer.com, where you can find out about all the services I offer, including medical intuitions evaluations, psychic readings, and energy healing, all from the comfort of your own home. Yes, you can get all of these services over the phone, long distance. You do not need to be in the Dallas area to take part. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's AppliedEnergeticsInstitute.com. And please do check out the Just Energy Radio webpage. That's www.justenergyradio.com, where you can find out about all of the guests that we have coming up, as well as get access to our over 5 years' worth of archives. You can also sign up for our weekly newsletter that will keep you informed of all the people that we have coming up on the show. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest, and we will get him on the air. In 2005, Dr. Sam discovered the first pyramids in Europe near the town of Visoko, Bosnia-Herzegovina. God, I cannot talk today. In Bosnia. Excavations, stop laughing, Sam. Excavations on the vast complex have been ongoing and run by a nonprofit archaeological park, Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation, since 2006, compiling more and more evidence to validate his claim. To date, the excavations have yielded 5 pyramids of various sizes, as well as vast labyrinths of underground tunnels and a pyramid that is 30% larger than the largest structure in the Giza Pleateau. So please welcome to Just Energy Radio, Sam Osmanagich. Sam, you know, I took a capsicum like just 5 minutes ago, so now my blood is just going in my veins, and it must be affecting my tongue. How are you today?
Well, I'm doing fine. Hello, Rita. How are you?
I am doing great. Great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
You know, for those who haven't heard of the Bosnian Pyramids, I was just thinking maybe we could do a little refresher as to, you know, what's going on the site. You know, but for people to get more information, they can go to the Just Energy Radio website and click on your name, because it will actually have the earlier interview we did May 20th of last year that goes into a lot more depth about the Bosnian Pyramids. But just to kind of recap, could you talk about, you know, what has been found there?
Yes, gladly. You see, in the 21st century, we will finally realize that what they've been telling us about the pyramids is wrong. First of all, they are not built only in Egypt and Mexico, but all over the planet, on all 6 continents. In the last few decades, we've been discovering pyramids in Guatemala, Honduras, China, Canary Islands, Mauritius, southern France, on ancient Greek soil much before the ancient Greek civilization. And finally, in April of 2005, I first came to the central Bosnian town of Visoko, and I saw a regularly shaped hill covered by soil and vegetation, but with obvious corners, triangular sides. When I put the compass to it, it showed me east, west, north, south, so the sides were aligned with the cardinal points. And based on my 25 years experience of investigating pyramids all over the world, I concluded that we have artificial structures below the layers of dirt. And in the last 7 years, we have established the first non-profit foundation in Southern Europe for the archaeological excavation. And we have over 300,000 hours in archaeological excavation, sample testing, radiocarbon dating, and we concluded that in central Bosnia, we discovered 5 pyramid structures, which we named the Bosnian Pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, and Love. And under the Valley of the Pyramids is a huge network of underground tunnels and chambers. So the whole complex is named the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. Every year, hundreds of volunteers, dozens of experts from the archaeologists, geologists, geophysicists, satellites, thermal analysis, they've been done in this town of Visoko, and we are getting very exciting results. On one side, this discovery will change our view of the ancient history because of the following 7 elements. Number 1, these are the first pyramids in Europe. Number 2, they are the biggest, the largest pyramids on the planet. The biggest pyramids in Bosnia, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, is 1/3 taller than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The element number 3, the orientation of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun to the true north, is the most precise orientation on the planet, much better than Egyptian, Chinese, Peruvian, or Cahokia pyramids. The element number 5, when you start removing the layers of soil, we are finding the rectangular concrete blocks of exceptional quality, much harder than what we make today in the 21st century. The next element, through the pedological analysis and the radiocarbon datings, we concluded that the minimal age of the Bosnian pyramids is 12,350 years, which make them the oldest pyramids on the planet. The next element is that under the pyramids, we have the most extensive underground tunnel network, which runs for tens of miles. And finally, in those tunnels, we are finding a huge ceramic blocks that reach 18,000 pounds. So those 7 elements are really history changing. And what we did mention briefly last year is that we've been trying to get the purpose of the Bosnian pyramids. And in the beginning, 2010, 2011, we had 4 independent teams from Croatia, Bosnia, Finland, and Italy, who were detecting and measuring different energy phenomena. And we can talk about it a little bit more. And I can tell you this, that we've been doing the pioneering steps, proving that the pyramids are actually huge generators of energy, of different types of energy, and basically they are the most complex constructions and the machines ever built on the face of the planet.
You mentioned ceramic blocks. Are we talking about ceramic pottery or porcelain, or are we talking, something that is baked, or are we talking more of like a concrete kind of material?
What we are finding in those tunnels are the blocks anywhere between 600-700 pounds, 5,000 pounds, 10,000 pounds, 18,000 pounds. At the first sight, they look like a sandstone block. And that's the reason why we name them megalithic blocks, because they are of exceptional sizes. But then we took samples and sent them to Zagreb, Croatia, to the Institute for Atomic Physics, and asked them if they were natural sandstone or artificially made material. And they applied two very sophisticated analyses, the Röntgen diffraction analysis and the phased analysis. And they concluded that this was definitely ceramic. So due to its size, 18,000 pounds, I mean, obviously, they are much, much larger than the small ceramic vases, ceramic dishes that we know in archaeology. But it seems that in Bosnia, everything is bigger and bigger, the biggest pyramids and now the largest ceramic sculptures.
I'm just thinking they need to move it to Texas because, as you know, everything's bigger in Texas. You know, it kind of boggles my mind because when I think of the word ceramic, you talk about baking at high temperatures. You know, and
Exactly.
so how would something that is 18 tons in weight, you know, and I'm assuming enormous in size, get baked? You would need a big oven.
Yes. What we have here in Bosnia is such a huge complex, which proves that the builders were able to manipulate extremely large quantities of material. We know that in the case of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, 5 million tons of materials was moved to build that enormous, magnificent structure. In the case of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, it was 18 million tons. I mean, these are just unbelievable level of construction feats that we have. Now, when we removed the first layers of soil and found those rectangular blocks, I mean, you could see that really it looked like a concrete, like man-made concrete. We sent the samples to 6 different labs for the materials in Bosnia, France, and Italy. And all of them confirmed that it was a concrete. Our modern concretes in 21st century are, when it comes to hardness, in the range from 10 to 60 megapascals. And the hardness of Bosnian concrete that covers the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is between 73 megapascals and 134 megapascals. So really never in human history such a good quality concrete was made like in this particular case. So when you realize how they were able to get those properties of concrete thousands and thousands of years back, I mean, it's just amazing. The next thing is the water absorption is very important property of the concrete. The higher absorption, that's the inferior concrete. You know, during the winter, if the water can get into the concrete blocks, then the concrete freezes and then it starts breaking. So the idea is to keep those levels very low, up to 3%. In the case of Bosnian pyramids, the concrete blocks have less than 1% of the water absorption. So it can explain their durability. So through those analyses, we realize how advanced the civilization that built this complex was.
And I think even to put it in perspective, you know, what they used to make highways or, you know, construct your driveway, that concrete, you know, you're always afraid of it expanding and contracting because then you have cracks in the roads and then potholes. But if we had a material that was as hard and water resistant as you're talking about, it would be a breakthrough in highway construction.
You're right. Obviously, the ancient builders had certain formulas which got forgotten over the years, but they knew how to put together the natural materials. In the case of Bosnian concrete, they used the conglomerate, and there is a lot of conglomerate. Actually, they built the tunnels in the layers of conglomerate, and as you know, conglomerate consists of the pebbles and rocks and sand, and that's excellent construction material. So all they needed was a binder. For the binder, they used clay, a lot of clay in the surrounding areas. So everything was within a couple of miles of radius. It's very practical. Now, look at the case of Egyptian pyramids. They had to go down to Aswan, 500 miles south, to cut and shape granite blocks, and then to move them to the desert, to the river Nile, again to the desert near Cairo, and then installing those pyramids. So it was a logistic nightmare. So I would say the builders in Bosnia were much more practical, and they were getting excellent results. So that's when it comes to the construction techniques. But you see, Rita, the first 4 years we spent in Bosnia proving that we have construction complex. We had 2 scientific conferences with about 85 scientists from 15 countries, from Egypt, Russia, China, Italy, France, USA, Austria, Croatia, and so on. And on both conferences, they concluded that this complex is the archaeological prehistorical site. And on last conference last year, they said that this is of the global importance. This discovery will change the history books and so on. But once you confirm that you have construction complex, then you don't want to spend another 100 years convincing people, hey, we have the biggest pyramids in Bosnia. You need to figure out what was their purpose. And archaeologists cannot help us there, because what they teach archaeologists at universities is the ceramic and the tools, and if they are not there, they don't know, what to do. Now, also the construction engineers and architects were good for one phase, but now we need something more. Pedologists, biologists, paleontologists, they're also good, but in order to get the answer, what was the purpose of the pyramid, we needed experts in energy. We need physicists, we need electrical engineers. And in the last 2 years, we've been working very intensively on the Pyramid of the Sun, the underground labyrinth, on the Pyramid of the Moon, the tumulus in Vratnica, trying to figure out all the energy phenomena. We bring the scientific instruments, we try to catch different, waves, different vibrations. And this is what we concluded. On the top of the Pyramid of the Sun, there is an energy beam coming through the very center of the pyramid, 13 feet radius and frequency of 28 kilohertz. Now, when you get to the top with the instruments, you get into this radius, you can detect the electromagnetic field. You get out of it, no fields. You get in again, you can detect it. It means that these electromagnetic fields are not going on the surface, left and the right, but it goes up. The energy beam is focused. And then the next thing, we brought the instruments to measure are there any vibrational energies like ultrasound and infrasound. Now, ultrasound is something that we cannot hear. What we can hear is from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Everything above 20 kilohertz is called ultrasound. We cannot hear, but we can measure. So, we measure 28 to 32 kilohertz. Now, this frequency is bad for microbes, for viruses, bacteria, and so on. But they don't hurt human cells. And then we measured another phenomena that's infrasound. That's below what we can hear. We can hear from 20 hertz, and for example, our planet vibrates at 6 hertz, and the pyramid vibrates at 7 hertz. Why those frequencies are important? Because the Mother Nature does not produce 28 kilohertz electromagnetic or 28 to 32 kilohertz ultrasound or 7 hertz infrasound, but it takes machines to produce those particular frequencies. So, of course, we concluded logically that the Bosnian Pyramid complex is a huge complex to generate different types of energy. So we have energy machines for the first time proven in the heart of Bosnia. We have suspected that that was the true purpose of the oldest and the biggest Egyptian pyramids, Mayan pyramids, Chinese pyramids, but now for the first time we have proven that here in Bosnia.
And kind of following up on this energy phenomena idea, in the last few months, I've seen a number of images and some articles of pyramids that it seems to show that there's some kind of an energy beam going into them, coming out of the apex. Are you familiar with those images?
Yes, I am. There are several of them.
What do you think of those? Or, is there any reality to them? Or are we talking Photoshop? What do you think?
The one which is shown in the case of the Kukulkan pyramid in Chichen Itza in eastern Mexico, there's the Mayan pyramid. That's the case when the tourist from El Salvador 3 years ago, with his digital camera, was able to, film the energy being coming to the very top. And, of course, they got a lot of reason to believe that it was a legitimate shot and everything. I think that it is very possible because some of the Mayan pyramids obviously belong to what I call the original pyramids, the pyramids that they were built with a purpose, not as a replica, but the pyramids that they were supposed to be the generating of energy. Now, there are a couple of other cases. Now, just a few days ago, we had a guest in Bosnia that was a professor from Greece, Dr. Stavros Papamarinopoulos, who brought the photos from two different sites in Greece. They are both temples dedicated to the goddess Hera. And he was showing also the energy beam coming from those two archaeological ancient sites. So it seems that the ancients were always building their most important temples and pyramids at the sites that are very potent in energy. Now, when it comes to pyramids, what we know so far is that they are the most powerful and most beneficial geometrical shape to use and amplify the energies. Now, of course, there are some natural sources of energy, like magma, the core of our planet, which produces the magnetic energy. Then you have underground water streams. When water moves, it generates energy. So when you place the pyramid above those natural sources of energy, and the pyramids, they amplify those energy sources 50 to 500 times. I know that because I was working with my colleagues from Russia. As you know, I'm the member of the Distinguished Russian Academy of Natural Sciences. What they would do in Egypt and Bosnia, they would measure the strength of the signal, acoustically, seismically, on the bottom and on the top of the pyramid. On the top, it was like 500 times stronger. So obviously, the pyramid, it sucks all those energies and they amplify them. And once they do that, because, with shape, they focus the energy through the very top. And that's something that we were able to detect and measure on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Actually, we were checking the whole pyramid. We were going left and right and different levels, and we could not detect any anomaly until we came to the very top. Also, we know that in the past, when the pyramids were originally built, they would have ending called pyramidion. That was the shape of the pyramid also, but built from much better material, either granite or gold-plated granite or gold. So the pyramidions are missing today from Egypt, Mexico, from China, from Bosnia. Obviously, they were removed intentionally because when you remove one very important part of the machine will not work properly anymore. So I think we are getting closer to explain all these secrets and the mysteries of the pyramids. And these are the real mysteries because the beings, the builders, were very advanced, probably much more advanced than we are. And now we need to figure out, what did they use this energy for? Well, you see, in our life, we use the energy for the communication, for the transportation, for the heating, for, different purposes. I believe that was their intention too. So I think that the case of writing on different websites will show us that some of the pyramids are still active all over the world. And it is time to apply our scientific methods, instruments, and try to verify in a scientific way, their purpose, their source, their strength, and their types. I believe also that we probably don't have all the scientific instruments to measure all different types of energies. Like I said, we measure electromagnetic, and ultrasound, and infrasound, and magnetic and electrical fields. But probably some of them, like orgone or life energy, we still don't have instruments to measure them. So I think this is the thing of the future.
Mm-hmm. And I find it interesting that the Pyramidion is removed even from Bosnia. I mean, I've heard it said that the ones in Egypt were gold, so I can understand why some are gold plated. You know, I could understand why someone wouldn't go steal it. But from there, unless there was the intention, you know, in Bosnia and perhaps around the world of making it so that they didn't work correctly, you know, intentionally, kind of like Göbekli Tepe, where they intentionally buried it.
Well, the way I see it, it's like the Swiss watch. You have like 100 pieces in the watch mechanism. If you remove one or two pieces, the watch will not work correctly anymore. It will work, you know, some wheels will be turning, but it does not work properly anymore. So most probably they use the Pyramidion to refine the energy beam, to focus it, to, you know, for different purposes. Now, without it, obviously, it cannot work properly as a, you know, a long time ago. Now, the second secret of the pyramid is the underground tunnels, underground labyrinth that we meet in, for example, Saqqara, the step pyramid in Egypt. Under one pyramid, you have underground tunnel network. Then, of course, Giza pyramids. They try to hide it for the longest time. So finally, last few years, we can see the info coming on the surface that there is a huge network of tunnels connecting all the pyramids on Giza Plateau with the Sphinx and with the River Nile. Of course, the Shanxi province in China, under their original pyramids, a lot of tunnels leading under those pyramids. In the case of the Sirio pyramids in Teotihuacan in Mexico, they finally started releasing the info about the tunnels discovered under Quetzalcoatl Pyramid, under the Moon Pyramid. So, 7 years ago, when I discovered the Bosnian Pyramids, I wrote in my book that we were going to discover the underground tunnels under Bosnian Pyramids. Of course, at that time, the public, especially cultural establishment, because of the lack of knowledge, they attacked me rather fiercely, saying, what he's talking about? First the pyramids, now the tunnels, it's impossible. Well, guess what? 7 years later, we have a huge network discovered under the Bosnian Pyramids. And this is a network that runs for tens of miles. In the last 2 years, we have discovered 6 underground chambers, and they are of the size of 300 to 500 square feet, and the height up to 13 feet. And we noticed that the people feel real good inside those chambers. So, for example, people have headaches before they enter the tunnels. Once they reach the chamber after 300 feet, they feel especially good, the headache is gone. They have back pain, the back pain is gone. They have, well, I heard, you know, some other accounts that they even had some more serious illnesses and diseases, and they were gone. At this point, we want to do a very detailed medical study before we promote that. But what we do know, when we did a study last year using an instrument to measure the aura, the bioenergy field around the human body, we concluded that in the case of 79, people, male and female, young and old, researchers, tourists, media, and so on, that the aura field improved in the case of 85% of them. And it increases from 10% to 40%. Then we wanted to figure out why. We were measuring the concentration of negative ions. As we know, negative ions are really good for our body because they clean our blood, they clean our body from viruses and bacteria. And what we measured was that at the entrance of the tunnels, the concentration was 1,000 kiloions per cubic centimeter, which is approximately 2 times higher than in your office or mine. But then in that particular chamber, the first one, the biggest one, the concentration was 100 times higher than average, or 100 times healthier. So it was some type of the healing underground facility. And that was one very important reason. The second reason was we wanted to see is there any negative radiations in those tunnels. As you know, when we live on the surface, a lot of cosmic rays, cosmic radiation, some of them, they simply go through our body with no harm, but some of them are very harmful, and our body cells fight those negative radiations from the universe. Also, there are so-called Hartmann grids. At the intersection of those lines, they are very harmful places for us. Curie's grid, Schneider's grid, underground natural radioactivity, very bad for us. Underground water streams, if you sleep above underground water, you're going to get sick after 5, 10, or 15 years. So our bodies, our body cells fight those enemies all our life. And then what we did, we measured the presence of those negative radiations in the tunnels. We were using the equipment from the Ukraine, developed by their scientists. And we concluded there were none, no negative radiations. What does that mean? It means that our body cells can finally start doing their job. Their job is to communicate, to find bad places in our bodies, and to fix those problems. Their job is actually to start regenerating our body. So then we concluded that somebody built the most safest underground facility, which was there for one very particular purpose, to guard what is the safest and most valuable thing in our life, and that is our health.
If you prove that, the government will want to take it over and shut you down. But let me ask this question. In those chambers, is there any special kind of rock, like is it crystalline in nature, or any special kind of construction that you're finding, that would promote that kind of an environment?
Now, those tunnels are built in the material which we call conglomerate. Conglomerate is a natural sedimentation. When you have flood, the water brings pebbles and rocks and sand. The water recedes, all those materials remain. After thousands of years, you have more accumulation and more. So those that are below, because of the pressure, they become more compact, and that's conglomerate. So somebody built in that material the network of tunnels. What we are noticing is that it is a lot of quartz crystal there. And then they were bringing some of the pieces of the quartz crystal, inside the tunnels. So now what we have inside, we measured the presence of electromagnetic fields. Now, when you have electromagnetic fields, when it hits quartz crystal, then through the process called piezoelectrical effect, the ultrasound is formed. And ultrasound is something that the animals hear, we don't. And interestingly enough, there are no animal bones in that underground tunnel network. There are no animals even today. It seems that somebody wanted to build this facility underground just for themselves and to keep all the animals out. So that's one very interesting thing. And I believe we will be doing more measurement. And as a matter of fact, just last week, I had a group of 15 scientists from Greece and Italy, Croatia, Serbia, and Finland. And we did an experiment on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. What we noticed was that the pyramid emits electromagnetic and ultrasound. So what we did, we brought the equipment and we started generating electromagnetic fields, sending them to the pyramid, and ultrasound, sending it to the pyramid. We wanted to see the reaction of the pyramid. And before the experiment, people already started writing that we want to awake the pyramid. Well, guess what? We did some calculation. What's going to happen? What the reaction of the pyramid will be? What strength of the signal we're going to get back. And when we calculated, we concluded we should get the signal back of up to 0.9 volts. Well, what we got back, as per preliminary results, was the value 3.5 times higher, over 3 volts. So then we were really surprised. It seems that the pyramid responded back, and we have been doing all the screening for 54 hours. So there is a lot of information to process, so maybe it will last another 6 months. But then once we finish that, after the summer, we will have definitive proof that the pyramid, it saves the energy, emits the energy. So I think it is really becoming the most exciting project on the planet.
Well, and one of the things that I really appreciate that you're bringing to the table is the level of scientific research. It's not, oh, well, I, Dr. Sam, think this, and I, Dr. Sam, think that. I mean, you're not reporting it that way, and it just seems like you're taking all of these extra steps to have it be grounded in science and not speculation.
You're right. But from the day one, we said, even though this is the archaeological project, the archaeologists are not the only ones to answer our questions. So besides the classical sciences like archaeology, geology, pedology, biology, and so on, we've been using all the high-tech scientific disciplines, satellite screening, thermal analysis, georadar analysis from 5 different teams, from Germany, from Italy, from Croatia, from Bosnia, from Serbia. And then now we are adding the physicists and electrical engineers. So only with such interdisciplinary scientific approach, you can get a lot of answers, but not all of them. What we proclaimed also was that the project was open for everyone, for the material science, which is based, on our 5 physical senses, but also spiritual science. And what we think today, on the global level, what the physical science is missing, is lacking, is that, creativity, the openness, thinking out of box, that can be only be brought from the, spiritual realm. On the other hand, people in the metaphysical community, the spiritual community, what they lack is the scientific protocol, scientific methodology. And the only way to find out the secrets from the past is to combine the two, the spiritual and the physical science. What we do in Bosnia, we want to verify every result. In the beginning, when we found those, concrete blocks, we would be sending our samples to 6 different labs. So once all of them confirmed the same thing, that you have man-made concrete, then we were satisfied. We find the organic material, we send it to 3 different labs, in UK, in Sweden, in Germany, in Poland, and then once you get the results, then you can say, hey, this is obviously independently verified. Even when we have people like dowsers who are telling us about the underground water streams, we have dowsers from Hungary, independent dowsers from Slovenia, from Croatia, from different countries, and then we can say, hey, most probably we do have 70 feet under the floor, the underground water stream. So I think that's the way to go. And once you have something that can be verified scientifically, then you are getting, your legitimacy. And besides, when you work on such a big project, you have to have permits from the, country's government. In order to get those permits, you need to have your project documentation. You need to explain them what kind of scientific methods you're going to use. You need to have your experts. You need to have your tools, equipment, and so on. So I would say it has become also the most active archaeological site in the world. Namely, in the year 2010, we had 500 volunteers from all over the world. And they were working under the supervision of dozens of archaeologists, geologists, geophysicists. In 2011, we had 30 volunteers from 32 countries. And this year, 2012, so far, we have received the applications from 51 countries and 6 continents. Now imagine this, a little Bosnia that's been known in 1990s only because of the war and the horrible things happening to Bosnians and the violence, and of course most recently because of the fact that Bosnia became the most corrupted country in Europe and so on. All the negative news. But with this project, we change that. We want people to know Bosnia because of the archaeology, volunteers, the tourism, cultural heritage, people establishing the friendship here in the heart of Bosnia. When we organized our first international summer camp for volunteers a few years back, we were getting letters from Peru or Mexico or Uzbekistan asking us, is the war still going on in Bosnia? And the war was over 16 years ago. We would be getting letters from neighborhood country of Serbia. They were asking us, can we come with our registration plates from Serbia safely in Bosnia? But once they did come, and they realized how beautiful this country is, how hospitable these people are, and the opportunity they were getting to really be active members, actively involved in new discoveries, they had life-changing experiences. So when they went back to their countries, from Austria to Canada, from Bolivia and Colombia to Morocco and Australia and New Zealand and Malaysia, they have become our ambassadors. Now they talk about Bosnia in totally different light. They talk about the image which is improving at this time. So this project is important, of course, because of its scientific, but also economical, political, and all other aspects. So we changed the approach to the science, and we said from day one, there will be no elite science in this project. Cultural heritage belongs to everyone. We need to have a free flow of information, and that will be the case. And you did make one little remark. Once the government realizes about the healing and other properties, they're going to shut us down. They will not, because so many people already know about it. So many people are coming in here. And by the way, the governments and academia, they're always afraid of the new things, so they want to see what's going to happen. By the time they realize they had such an enormous value, so many people will be involved, so many scientific institutes will be here, so many tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of tourists will be here, and they will feel that this place belongs to all of us. Like any other, Rita, like Great Chinese Wall does not belong only to China. It is the cultural heritage of this planet, the Egyptian pyramids, the Eiffel Tower, Machu Picchu, now the Bosnian Pyramids. So we need to change our perception.
Has the sediment, the emotional sediment to the pyramid complex changed? I know that a couple of years ago, people were going, oh, it's really not a pyramid, it's just, a natural phenomena. Has that, through your amazing efforts, has that changed? I mean, especially based on the amount of data and research you've put out?
Things have been changing. Well, in the beginning, the establishment was polarized. You have people against, you have people pro. The public, the common people, they were all for the project because they would come, they would see it was man-made, it was huge. Maybe they didn't know how come we have pyramids in Bosnia when we didn't have a pharaoh. People did not realize that you don't have to have pharaohs and Egyptian civilization here in order to have pyramids. Now, there are scientific criteria for the pyramids. You have to have geometry, and the geometry is present here. You go to any website, you will see the Sun Pyramid with the 4 sides, triangular faces, obvious corners. So it is not a circle, it is not irregular, it is a regular pyramid shape. The second criteria is the orientation. You can see that all Chinese pyramids are oriented to the north. The oldest Egyptian pyramids, most Peruvian, all Cahokia pyramids. According to the Bosnian State Institute for Geodesy, the error of of the northern side of the Bosnian Pyramid sun from the true north is only 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds. As the best precise orientation. Mother Nature does not make hills with 4 sides, with 4 triangular faces, with those corners, with the perfect orientation. And then, like I said, you remove the soil, you're finding blocks. You analyze them, they're artificially made, concrete blocks. Then, you're finding inner passageways in the pyramid, which we know through the georadar screening. You're finding underground tunnels under the pyramids. Obviously, it's part of the complex. You're finding a lot of water, 2 rivers above the ground, a lot of underground water streams, and water is always important to the pyramids. And finally, we can see the sacred geometry. 3 main pyramids, the sun, the moon, and the dragon, form perfect equilateral triangle with the distance between the tops of approximately 1.5 miles, 2,170 meters. Mother Nature does not make 3 hills with 4 sides, triangular faces and perfect orientation, and then to place them as to form the perfect triangle. So all these elements are here. So, like I said, we don't want to waste our time another 100 years trying to convince the last human on this planet that we have a pyramid complex. We are giving them specific arguments, data. So let them, conclude for themselves. We need to move on. Let's see why they were built, and I think that we are answering those questions. The, pyramids above the ground, huge energy machines, underground networks to, keep us healthy, and we need to figure out who built it. Because when it comes to the question when, I told you we find some organic materials in the binding materials, and it gave us 12,350 years before present. Pedologists are saying that the layers of soil that cover the pyramid are between 12 and 15,000 years. So obviously those pyramids are over 12,000 years old. History has to be changed, the way we view it, and the history books have to be rewritten. It's not a matter of adding one little paragraph at the beginning. Because when you change the beginning of the civilization, everything else that follows has to be changed. And this is huge, Rita. And it is not only big for a little community here in Sarajevo and Bosnia and cultural establishment here who was against us from the very beginning, because they know that their PhDs are not good anymore. Their professorships, no bueno. The way they've been teaching our kids, not good. But not only Sarajevo, but also Zagreb, Paris, London, Boston, New Orleans. Now imagine, all this had to be changed. So what was easier? To change that or to try to stop this little foundation and this little guy? And that's what they've been trying to do from the beginning. They were writing petitions to Bosnian government. Fortunately, they were rejected. And now we establish our place and we keep moving.
Do you think that, you have a dating, at least a point in time where the pyramids were in existence. I think they obviously go much further back in time than the 12,000 years or 12,000 BC. Do you think that the Egyptian pyramids are that old? Obviously it seems like anything that might have been datable material associated with the Egyptian pyramids is probably long gone. Any thoughts on that?
Of course. What they teach us in schools is that the humanity with the advanced civilizations are only about 7,000 to 8,000 years old. They're telling us Sumer, then Babylon, Akkad, Assyria, ancient Egypt, ancient India. But in reality, that's just the last cycle of advanced civilizations. Before that one was another one, which was interrupted by the huge global catastrophe, which ended in a huge flood. Before that one, there was another one and another one. Of course, we know about the global catastrophes. They come occasionally every 12,000, 15,000 or 50,000. And they basically wiped off all the human life about 99%. Only those who are hidden in caves, underground tunnels, they survive, and they come back on the surface. Civilizations are gone, so they need to start from the very beginning. So this is what happened in the previous cycle and the previous cycle. As far as the Bosnian pyramids, what we can say for sure are that those pyramids are covered by soil. According to the Institute for Pedology, the soil is between 12 and 15,000 years in age, meaning that the pyramids are even older. We are finding binding material, inorganic material on some of the terraces. So we know that those terraces are at least 12,350 years old. But when the pyramids were built, much before, very possible. But then even with 12,000 years, we are getting so much obstacles in the scientific community because we changed what the mainstream science has been claiming for the last couple of 300 years. And such a change is so big and so many people who want to keep the status quo. So these are things that, are so big that I would say the resistance will be around for another 10 or 20 years. But finally, you find so many anomalies, like Yonaguni monuments on the bottom of Pacific floor, like the huge stone blocks in Baalbek, Lebanon, over 1,200 tons, like the dating of the first civilization who built Machu Picchu over 12,000 years ago, the date of the first pyramids in Teotihuacan over 12,000 years ago. And finally, to answer your question, the oldest Egyptian pyramids that Egyptologists have been assigning to the third and the fourth dynasty without a single proof, then people will realize that all those monuments belong to the previous cycle of humanity. When it comes to the Cheops, or Great Pyramid of Egypt, they are telling us it was built by the pharaoh of the fourth dynasty, but we have no proof. You get inside the chambers, no hieroglyphic symbols or writings. The passageways, no paintings, no tools, no mummy, no organic materials, not a single proof who really built it, when, how, and why. The same thing with the Khafre pyramid, the same thing with the Mycelian pyramid, the same thing with the, Sneferu, who supposedly, according to Egyptologists, built not one but three pyramids. The same thing with the Djoser pyramid. What we can see on the Giza Pleateau, though, are the shells. Those shells belong to the last flood, when Mediterranean Sea rose for tens of meters and flooded the pyramids, which were hundreds of miles from the coast. But they are telling us that even during the last flood, or the end of the last ice age, 12,000 plus years ago, the pyramids in Egypt were there.
Period. Sam, we have about 5 more minutes to go. Let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier about the volunteer opportunities at the excavation site in Bosnia. If someone were interested in trying to participate in that this summer, are there still opportunities or potential opportunities available, or are we already past any kind of cutoff deadline?
Well, like I said, our project is different. It's like no other project. We have no limits. People who are willing to come to Bosnia, they will all be welcome. At this moment, we have about 420 applications from 51 countries, but we still have more place. People can come to Bosnia, they can volunteer. The way we do it is we have 2 weeks shift. We're going to have 7 shifts from June 3rd to September 9th. People can choose when to come. Our official website is www.bosnianpyramidofthesun.com, and I believe you have a link to our official website, or they can go through my official website, www.samosmanagich.com, which I know is on your website. Mm-hmm. So they can go through there, they fill up the application, they send it to us, they pick up the date, and they will be welcome, and they can get ready for the experience of their life. Now, When they come there, the accommodation is rather modest. It's a 2-star hotel, so it's not luxury. But on the other hand, it is not a tent. So they come, they are with other friends in 4 bedrooms, and they have fun. They work 6 hours a day. After that, they are free. They can go. They can party with other friends. And usually it's about 50, 60 people per shift. And when I toured the pyramid sites with them the first day, I said, right now you're coming from 15 or 20 different countries. You don't know each other. But once you start working, and it's usually physical work, they remove the vegetation and the soil and stuff like that, then they start building the friendships. 2 weeks later, when they're about to leave, they start crying because they won't see this friend again. But then what happened? Next year, they are back to Bosnia. So I think it is so interesting to see so many faces, so many people bringing their enthusiasm, and they always, you can always see smiling faces. So it's really beautiful atmosphere.
I guess you need to bring your shovel because it's not like you're going sightseeing. It sounds like you're going to put them to work.
Well, they do work. We expect them to work because we need to do new discoveries, and we do them thanks to the volunteers.
And that's just, wonderful. At one point, I was looking at trying to participate in an excavation, and a lot of them want you to pay them, so much money, or you have to enroll at a college, and then you still have to pay for a course to go work for them for 2 weeks for free. Oh, no, wait, you have to pay them to go work for them. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's wrong with that?
Yes. Good thing about us is anyone can come. They don't need to be a student of archaeology. They don't need to be professors. They can just come. Of course, the first day, we have a short course in archaeology. We tell them what they're going to do. We show them the site. And then the next day, when they start working, they pick up real quick. And, our supervisors, archaeologists, geologists, geophysicists, they're always there to answer all questions. But then it seems that the people who are coming to Bosnia to work on our sites are special people too. A lot of them, do the meditation. They're very open-minded. They talk to each other. And it's not just, 20 or 25 years old. The youngest volunteer we had last year was 8 years old, who came with his parents. And the oldest one was 83 years old. So these are people who are young at their hearts. So I think that's a wonderful thing that such project exists.
And I just think it's so wonderful that you have it be open to everyone, because I think that there are a lot of people that want to become involved in something, and this is an opportunity to become involved in something that is going to be groundbreaking.
Yes, exactly. So they are all welcome. And since you're in Dallas, Dr. Rita, just this coming Sunday, I'm going to have a lecture there so people can see and learn about the place on our official website. And that's what I try to do. I try to promote projects all over the world. And I believe when people hear what we have to say, they are so enthusiastic and so eager to come to Bosnia.
Great. And Sam, if you could, because I think we're Facebook fans, if you could post that class on Facebook, I can share it with my peeps, get it out in the Dallas area just a little bit more for you.
Okay.
Great. So we have 1 quick minute left. Anything really exciting coming up in the near future for you? With since the season is just starting.
Yes, 2 things. In the underground tunnels, we discovered a structure under the floor, approximately 300 feet from the entrance, and we are going to be excavating that structure. What the structure represents, we don't know, but it's very exciting. The second thing, we will be trying to find our way in the pyramid from the surface, from the pyramid itself this summer. We're going to see if we're going to have any luck because it's covered by this, good quality concrete. But those 2 things will be our main goal this coming summer.
Well, when you get results from either of those, we'd love to have you back because, like I said, this is just unfolding, and it's just great. So, Sam, I need to bring up the music and need to say goodbye to you, and I always love having you on, and thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Sam. That's Sam Osmanagich. His website is samosmanagich.com or BosnianPyramidOfTheSun.com. And we will be back with, who are we going to be back with? Wrong page. C.K. Quarterman after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.